Just a hat. With a nice sweater, Jason. Yes.
Is Eve dead? Like, what happened when she went under the lake and came back looking way more My Chemical Romance than when she went under? And then obviously takes the knife to the gut and obviously faces off against Jason. We don't know what happened. So whatever you can say about what was going on there.
You know, for me, it was, I wanted, my approach to this story was I wanted to, without going into what happened or could have happened to Jason when he was younger, and what we'll say transformation happened to him. Look, I'm going to go on a couple little tangents and circles here to describe this, because there's some reasons why I chose to go this route. First of all, there are so many different opinions on what has happened and how Jason became Jason. Obviously, with the exception of, what was it, like part 6 or whatever, where he comes back, like he technically is now technically zombie Jason.
Yeah.
But but again, like, you know, there's essays like online about all this stuff, and like people like, well, you know, I think that, you know, he never drowned, and that he got raised in a cabin in the woods, and he grew up to be a big hulking guy, and it was his mom and him going out in the woods and getting revenge, and that was what part 1 was. And I was like, really? Because I always thought I thought it was just his mom, and to me that was so much cooler and against type. So that was like, okay. Of course, when he comes back and he's in 2 and 3 and everything like that, you're kind of like, well, but I thought he drowned. And therein opened up the door to a lot of questions in fandom, which was, well, has he always been dead? And is there been enough? Was there enough for him to come back to get revenge for them killing his mom for what they did to him? And is that just his sole purpose, is just to, like, again, murder people who have wronged him, murder people on Crystal Lake? So for me, and again, this gives a little bit of a nod to what I was trying to do in my VHS segment, which is, I always felt, now this could just be me and nobody else has this perspective, but it sounds like there's a lot of different perspectives out there. I honestly do feel like there's something going on with Crystal Lake. I wanted to take a character. Now we had 13 minutes, so it wasn't a lot of time, but I kind of wanted to create this short nod to, like, what would it have been like if Jason drowned, he got up out of that water, let's just say 4 hours later, like Eve did, and was like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? And then he starts to realize, like Eve does. Now, we obviously truncated this into this very, very short amount of time, but I kind of wanted to do this, like, little bit of a body horror thing where it's like, why do I feel this way? Why do I look this way? What is going on? You're still experiencing the horror. You still feel like yourself. But over the course of the movie, the very short movie, she then starts to pick up what she's capable of, and that she can pull a machete out of her gut and she's still okay. Wait a second. There's something going on here. And then again, she's given a chance to me, and again, like where I stand, which is Jason's given a chance to go after anybody who's ever wronged him or was ever involved with wronging him until the end of time. That's how I see Eve is in a very similar situation right now, where now she's like, oh, I can do this. And that's why she stabs her friend in the face.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I was going to say, like, that was the initial reaction I had when I was watching it. I was like, it felt like you were focusing on rather the Jason Voorhees character being supernatural, that the place itself is a supernatural entity alone, and that is infecting the people that are on the grounds or something, you know. And I noticed that right away, and I was like, that's a cool way of doing it, because it had never really been done. Because everyone, like a lot of directors have, when they've tackled Jason, they're always like, well, how do we explain the supernatural element to him or whatnot? And they always just go to, you know, the zombie Jason. They usually rely on that. But to have the actual Crystal Lake be this cursed ground that just infects things that walk on it, and then because I felt like when I was watching it, I felt like Eve was taking on the spirit, or at least in my opinion, but Pamela Voorhees.
Okay.
Like she was becoming
Mhm.
what Pamela Voorhees became because she was infected by this place for, you know, this desire for revenge and to hurt.
She's yeah, for lack of a better term, infected or dead. Like
Yeah.
again,
Mhm.
like Jason is, who's unstoppable. You know, you can't kill him, and she gets her chance, and we'll just say the lake gives her that opportunity. And to me, you know, it's like, you know, when I look back at the old movies, and you know, I love, obviously, you know, part one has a special place in your heart because it's kind of where it all started, and
Exactly.
there's just such a charm to it.
Mhm.
And then but for me, you know, 4 and 7, 4 is like the pinnacle, and 7 is like the wait a second, you can have some weirdness
Yeah.
going on in these movies. You know, you have the telekinesis,
Jean Grey from the
y-
X-Men. Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah.
and not to say that that has anything to do with Crystal Lake, but I was like, you know, if in this world, you know, because again, I wanted this movie to feel like it could just be a part of, again, for lack of a better term, this Jason universe.
Yes.
Like it
The
does, like
Unithridiverse.
yes, yes, that there are things that can happen, and there are things that can happen that we don't have to fully explain, but could this be?
Mhm.
And because the series has done that so well throughout, and the producers, you know, I met a handful of the people who have been involved with the Jason films, and they've been very, very keen about keeping the secrets, and who knows, maybe they don't know. I honestly,
Yeah.
they didn't tell me much. Um, you don't know, and I think that's what's really special about the series is there's a lot of things up in the air that I think the fans fill in the blanks, and I think that's really, really cool, and a cool thing that the franchise allows for.
100%.
So yeah, so
I get that, man. Halloween's the same way. It's like
Mhm.
you love the fact that they bring up new ideas, and you almost don't want to know the entire truth.
That's
But
exactly it.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
just keep us hanging on a little bit. And obviously they run into dead ends, and then you know Michael impregnated his niece, and you're like, whoa, I think we've gone too far. You've had
The
too much to
runes
drink,
caused
you know,
them to do that.
the goddamn room. You know, but like I get that. And actually, dude, that's so weird because I never thought about it that way. If you just kind of make the lake this mysterious thing, it could be the explanation, yet not the explanation for everything. From the telekinesis to Jason to whatever, it all centers to something, but we still don't know quite yet what it is. I love that.
Crystal
Mhm.
Lake is as much a part of the Friday the 13th movies as Jason is, like when you think of it. Like you can't not pass, like we actually live by a Crystal Lake. Like there's Crystal Lakes everywhere, just like there's an Elm Street in every fucking town.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a
true.
Crystal Lake. There's a
Yep.
Crystal Lake, and it, like I maybe every state at least. I know that we have one that's a mile from us. And so whenever I drive by it, you always see the sign for Crystal Lake. You're just like, there it is. Like,
Yeah.
you drive by the sign on the road going down 35W, Crystal Lake Road. You're like, I just, you can't help but see a hockey mask, you know,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah, that's on. Yeah.
or think of any one of any scene in a movie. So yeah, for me, that's what it was. It was creating, using the place as something that was important, just as much as our lovable boy.
And then at the end, right at the last second of it, she looks at him and she almost kind of smirks a little bit, and he's
Uh-huh.
standing there looking badass. And then she kind of, to me, she goes kind of to the right a little bit. If that felt like an intentional thing, like she didn't go directly at him, but she did go a little bit to the right. That may have been intentional, it may not have been, but I'm thinking, and maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't, or whatever. But as far as a follow up to this goes, where this goes afterwards, so this is like a multi-tiered question. But is there any hope of, like, I don't know, another one of those, maybe a series of these? I know it's an Angry Orchard tie-in. Do you think that there's any of these characters who could possibly be used in the future? Is there a future for what happens after this? I guess is the simplest way to put my really loaded
Depends
question.
on how many people drink Angry Orchard.
Fully loaded. Yeah.
You know, it's a really good question. Look, I mean, I went in doing this short as I wanted to start a new storyline, or at least part of one, to
Yeah,
to provide a what if. It was always my intention to want to explore this further, and yes, I absolutely have ideas and where I would take this. Whether Jason Universe wants to do anything with that afterwards, wants to continue it in short form and then do their features and the TV shows, or they want to continue on with a feature. That is something I don't know the answer to. But I can say for myself, like, look, if the story of Eve, if they want that to continue, like, I have places where it could go, and it's both really exciting. It has we'll say there's. I was explaining this to Robbie Bersamian, one of the producers on it, they own the franchise basically, and that there's, with this Eve story, there's almost a little bit of a Terminator vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I always imagined how fun. We're so used to Jason, just like Jason killing people. One person's left over. He has to go for them. They win, or do they? Like that's kind of every story. Honestly, why can't we give, without telling us more about Jason, like the Texas Chainsaw movies did, and like what the Halloween movies tried to do, with still keeping Jason mysterious and without answering too many questions? Can we get a new angle on possibly what could have happened, but through the eyes, or through the eyes of another character like Eve? And what does Jason do when there is somebody else like him? That to me was a kind of a fun thing to play with. And there was a lot of, to me, there's some really interesting opportunities in, again, whether it's another short or shorts or something longer, to explore that side. And it's not like, they become buddies and like they're hanging out, drinking orchies or something like that.
Karate in the garage.
I don't think that's the angle. I think, to me, I like the idea of, it's like this, first of all, for Eve, it's a discovery. I'd love to explore that. Like, what the hell can I do with myself? I love the fact that, she leaves a body count just like he does. Like, and because she can't control what she doesn't know how to use yet. And then, it's not, again, it's not a love story, but is it like more like, wait, you're like me, maybe I should look out for you, or maybe I should protect you. And then again, what is so classic about the Jason story is he's come back, they've murdered his mother. What happens when they try to take that one thing away from him again, that he has found or has needed to, or
sorry, Mike. Sorry, I got a there's an animatronic behind me, and when the dogs hit it, it goes off. So that's totally rude on the part of that.
I was totally invested.
Dude, by the way, love the decorations. The decorations are top notch.
Oh God, this place.
If we're thinking about going back to the roots of Jason without having to like literally go back to the roots of Jason and retell the story again and kind of do what the 09 film did, why can't we get a different perspective? Why can't we put Jason through what he went through to begin with, which was, you killed my mom. That was that she's my mom. Like, that's everything. I was mama's boy. What if when he finds the person who, or the thing that's like him, what if that person is taken away from him? It opens up a whole other fucking can of worms. And now he's like, I have another reason to fuck shit up again. And now you're like, okay. And if we give that space in a story like that, for that sort of, for lack of a better term, blossom, and you're like, okay, now I want to see him mess some more stuff up, because I think if there's another Jason thing, like, let's add just just another drop of originality to it, and just not do the same thing again.
Inspiration.
That's me personally, and that's
Yeah.
that's what I like to do. Like if I'm going to take on an IP, and it's a very similar thing that I did with Silent Night. It's the same thing that I did with Wrong Turn. And you look, I'm fully aware that people love that, and some people absolutely fucking despise that. But as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, like that to me is something that I have to get excited about, to go in and dig deep and really find what that is.
You would definitely 100% be on board if they gave you the opportunity to do a full feature-length film. You obviously are a fan and you love it.
Yeah.
You want to keep the core of the character there, but you want to explore different ideas around the legend of Jason Voorhees. I feel like that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it needs.
I would love to, but again, just to be clear, I would love to do that, but while maintaining that mystery, because again, that's why those movies work so well, and we'll at least put in the first 7 do that so incredibly well. Even Jason Goes to Hell did something unique. Now you can say what you want about the movie, like I can't say that I'm a huge fan of that movie, but what I do appreciate was there was a filmmaker who said, what if? And honestly, I think when you're given a chance to work with such a cool IP in a cool story, that's very simple, like that hasn't answered a lot of questions. First of all, don't answer all the questions, and then also, what else can you play with in that world? And
dude, that is so important in what you just said, though, because it's like because they've done this before with other iconic characters, like in the Michael Myers situation, when they want to reveal too much of his background and like, well, this is why he is what he is, and like, well, that's like a magician revealing the trick. I mean, that's where it kind of ruins it a little bit. But the fact that you're saying, like, I want to keep it mysterious, I want to keep that core there, that's perfect. That's exactly what it needs.
Also, Jay's laundry's done. I don't know if anybody heard that, but Jay's laundry is done.
Yes, it's done.
You guys are batting 1,000 tonight, man. Between the ghosts and the laundry machines,
I have the doors closed, and I'm surprised that you can hear that. But yeah.
Anyway, you kids have fun.